Marcus had already left Harold's house. Tyler had told him to go. Claire had let him walk away. Robert had stayed silent, and for a few minutes, Marcus really thought there was nothing left to return to. Then his phone rang. Aunt Linda. Marcus almost ignored it, but something made him answer. Her voice came through low and urgent. "Marcus, where are you?" "I left." "No," Aunt Linda said. "You need to come back." Marcus frowned. "Why?" "The attorney is here," she said, "and he says your grandfather was very clear." Marcus said nothing. Then Aunt Linda took a breath. "He says you need to be present." Marcus looked at the road ahead. Then he looked at the house in the rearview mirror. For a long moment, he did not move. Then slowly, he turned the car around. When Marcus stepped back through the front door, the room had changed. The laughter was gone. Tyler was no longer smiling. Claire stood near the fireplace, trying to look composed. Robert was silent, and beside the coffee table stood the man Marcus had seen outside, the man in the dark coat, the man with the leather folder. Claire spoke first. "Mr. Wallace." The attorney nodded. "I'm sorry for your loss." Mr. Wallace looked around. "Mr. Carter instructed me to meet the family here after the service." Claire glanced toward Marcus. "Yes," she said carefully. "Of course, we're all here." Aunt Linda crossed her arms. "No," she said. "You were just telling Marcus to leave." Mr. Wallace turned. "Marcus Carter." Marcus nodded. The attorney's expression softened. "Your grandfather was very clear. You need to be present." Tyler's smile weakened. Claire opened her mouth. Nothing came out. Robert finally said, "Then let's go inside." For once, Marcus did not stand in the back. He sat in the living room across from the fireplace. Tyler sat forward like a man waiting for a crown. Mr. Wallace placed the leather folder on the coffee table. "There is a will," he said, "but before I read the terms, Harold left a personal letter." He opened the envelope. The room went still. "To my family." Claire folded her hands. Robert stared at the floor. Tyler looked annoyed already. Mr. Wallace continued, "If you are hearing this, then I am gone. And I hope for once you are sitting in the same room, without pretending you do not know what happened in this family." Claire whispered, "Dad." But the letter kept going. "I watched Marcus be treated like a spare part in his own home. I watched him give his time, patience, care, and dignity without asking what he would receive in return." Marcus stared at the rug, not because he was ashamed, because if he looked up, he might break. "I also watched Tyler be praised for promises he never kept, defended for mistakes he never owned, and rewarded for effort he never made." Tyler sat forward. "What is this?" Robert snapped. "Let him finish." But his voice was not angry. It was afraid. Mr. Wallace read the next line slowly. "Blood makes you related. Loyalty makes you family. And by that measure, Marcus has been more family to me than anyone in this room." No one breathed. Then came the sentence that changed everything. "My house, my savings, and my remaining shares in Carter Supply are to go to Marcus Daniel Carter." The room went dead quiet. Not sad. Dead. Tyler stood. "What?" Mr. Wallace lowered the page. "Harold left the primary estate to Marcus." Tyler pointed at him. "Him?" Claire looked like the air had been taken from her lungs. Robert's face hardened. "There must be conditions." "There are," Mr. Wallace said. Tyler laughed once. "Good." Mr. Wallace turned the page. "Marcus is not required to share, transfer, sell, loan, or surrender any part of the inheritance to any family member. Harold specifically included that language." The silence returned. This time it was different. It was not grief. It was greed being caught with the lights on. Claire spoke first. "Marcus, honey." The word sounded fake before it finished leaving her mouth. Honey. She had not called him that when he worked nights. Not when he graduated with no party. Not when Tyler took every spotlight. Not when Marcus sat alone in hospital waiting rooms with Harold. But now that the house had his name on it, she found the word. Marcus looked at her. For once, he did not rescue her from the silence. Claire's eyes filled. "We didn't know your grandfather felt this way." Aunt Linda gave a cold laugh from the corner. "Yes, you did." Nobody argued. Robert cleared his throat. "Marcus, this is emotional. We should talk as a family before anything is finalized." Mr. Wallace closed the folder. "It is finalized." Tyler turned on him. "You can't just give everything to Marcus. I was supposed to carry the family name." Mr. Wallace lifted another page. "There is also a note for Tyler." Tyler froze. The attorney read calmly. "To Tyler, I loved you because you were my grandson. But love does not mean blindness. You visited when you wanted something. You called when you needed money. You measured my life in property value. Before I was even gone." Tyler's face changed. The anger was still there. But now something else was under it. Exposure. "I leave you $1 so no one can say I forgot you." Aunt Linda covered her mouth. Claire whispered, "Dad, no." But Harold was gone. No one could guilt him anymore. That was the power of the letter. Nobody could interrupt the truth. Tyler started pacing. "This is insane. Marcus doesn't even know what to do with company shares. He's an accountant, not a businessman." Marcus finally spoke. His voice was quiet. "That's funny." Everyone looked at him. "I know what the company owes, I know what it owns, and I know which vendor accounts are past due." Robert turned slowly. Marcus looked at him. "Grandpa asked me to review the books last year." Robert went pale. That was the second hit. The inheritance was not only emotional, it was practical. Harold trusted Marcus because Marcus had shown up, and because Marcus understood the business Tyler only wanted to spend. Claire sat down. The mask slipped, just enough. "So what happens now?" Marcus heard the real question underneath. What happens to us? What happens to the house? What happens to the shares Robert thought he could influence? What happens to Tyler, now that the golden child has nothing to collect? And what happens to the son they ignored? Now that he holds the keys. Mr. Wallace slid another packet across the table. Harold left one final instruction for Marcus. Marcus looked down. Mr. Wallace read it aloud. "Do not let guilt decide for you." Claire closed her eyes. Robert said nothing. Tyler stopped pacing. Marcus felt those words settle somewhere deep. Harold knew them too well. He knew Claire would soften her voice. He knew Robert would ask for a family meeting. He knew Tyler would rage first, then beg later. He knew they would not call it pressure. They would call it love. Claire reached across the table. "Marcus, we're still your family." Marcus looked at her hand. Less than an hour ago, that same hand had touched his arm and tried to keep him out of the house. He remembered Tyler telling him to leave. He remembered Robert saying, "Don't make this difficult." He remembered all the years he had cleaned up messes he did not make. And suddenly, Harold's warning made perfect sense. One day they'll need you, and they'll act like they always loved you. There it was, right on time. Marcus did not shout. That was what made the room more uncomfortable. Tyler wanted him to yell. A fight would make Marcus look greedy. A fight would let Claire cry and become the victim. A fight would let Robert call him disrespectful. So Marcus gave them something worse, calm. He stood and buttoned his coat. "I'm going to speak with Mr. Wallace privately next week," he said. "After that, I'll decide what to do." Robert stepped forward. "Son, don't make emotional decisions." Marcus looked at him. "I'm not." Claire's voice broke. "We made mistakes." Marcus nodded. "You did." She flinched, because he said it without anger, just truth. Tyler laughed bitterly. "So, that's it? Grandpa gives you everything, and now you think you're better than us?" Marcus turned to him. "No." He paused. "I just don't think I'm less than you anymore." The room went silent. That sentence did what years of explaining never could. It ended the old order. Marcus thanked Mr. Wallace. He hugged Aunt Linda. Then he walked out of the house where he had spent years being useful, invisible, and blamed. Behind him, Claire called his name. He did not turn around. Not because he hated her, because for once he chose not to answer a voice that only called when it needed something. In the weeks that followed, Marcus kept the house. Not to punish anyone, because it felt like Harold. He repaired the porch swing, cleaned the den, labeled old photographs. And on quiet evenings, he sat outside with coffee, listening to the same street Harold used to watch. His family called often at first. Claire left long messages. Robert asked for meetings. Tyler sent angry texts, then apologetic ones, then angry ones again. Marcus responded only when necessary. Never cruel, never dramatic, just distant. Peace, he learned, was not always loud. Sometimes peace was a locked door, a quiet phone, a Sunday morning where no one asked him to make himself smaller.
Some families do not ignore the quiet person because that person has no value. They ignore them because they assume quiet means controllable. They mistake patience for weakness. They mistake kindness for obligation. They mistake silence for permission. But the truth has a way of waiting. And when it finally arrives, it does not always come with shouting. Sometimes it arrives in a sealed envelope. Sometimes it speaks through the person everyone underestimated. And sometimes karma is not revenge. Sometimes karma is simply this: the person they used finally gets the power to walk away. Marcus did not destroy his family. He stopped letting them destroy him. And maybe that is why they could not forgive him. Because he did not become cruel. He became free. So, here is the question. If you were Marcus, would you forgive your family after everything they did? Or would you walk away forever and protect your peace?